All right, so for this last part, we just need to enable this post comment feature here. So let's go ahead and start it. And I'm going to go into the backend, into routes, and into blogs. And then I'll start building that. So let me just scroll down here to the bottom. Okay, and so I'll name it. It's going to be a post request comment. And it's going to be, oops. So then as usual, I'm going to check for the comment in the body. Oops. And I'm also going to need the ID. So I'll say if request.body.id doesn't exist, no ID was provided. So now that I have the ID at this point, what I'll do is search for it in the database. So if I get an error, I'm going to head and say that, say invalid blog ID. And then if no blog is found, then blog not found. Then I'm going to get the user that is currently logged in, and I'll do that with find one and search by ID, and oops, should be user ID. And actually I meant to put this one here, and for this one I'll just put something went wrong, because it's kind of a general error. You won't really know what it means with that. Okay, and then all right, so then if you go back over to the blog model, you'll see down here I created a comments array. So it's an array of objects, and each object is basically a comment. So every time a user comments, they're going to create an object that gets inserted into this array. It's going to contain the comment and whoever left the comment. So I'll say blog.comments .push. And so I'll push in an object, and it's going to have the comment from request.body along with the commentator, which is user.username. And then afterwards, I'll go ahead and save. All right, and that wraps it up for this route. So let's go ahead and implement that. I'll go back over to the Angular side and into my services, into my blog service. And I'm going to add an additional one down at the bottom here. And I'll name it post new comment, or I'll just say post comment. And if you recall, it's expecting the ID along with the actual comment. Okay, so that's what we'll pass into it. So create those headers, and then I'll create an object blog data, and then I'll pass in the ID along with the comment. Okay, and then I'll just return this.http.post. And then I can implement that now. So we're going to go into comments and blog and open up this HTML along with the component.ts file. So then at the bottom here, I'll create the new function for posting comments. I'll just name it the same, post comment, and then I'll pass the ID into it. All right, then I'm going to go back over to the HTML and look at this form a little bit closer before I continue. So it's at the bottom here, and I had it commented out. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this comment and finish up this form. And actually what I'll do is I'm going to put this form in a div. And then I'm going to add an ngIf to this, and this will be ngIf, and I'll say new comment dot index of, and I'll pass in the blog ID, and I'll say if it's greater than 1, so if it's part of that array. So I'm going to create that here, back to the top, and create here as an array. So essentially what I'm going to do is, because we're going to have many posts on the page, I need a way to track which post the person is trying to comment on. So what I'll do is when they click post comment, I'll grab the ID of the post that they're trying to comment on. I'll insert it into this array for tracking purposes, and then once they post a comment, I'll remove it from here. So you'll see in a little bit how that's going to make sense. So on this same button, or the button up here, I'm going to grab the same ngIf statement and apply it there as well. So this draft comment, I believe I already created that function. Let me see. Yep, I did. So what I'll do here is insert into that array the blog ID. So I have to pass that in here, and then I'll just say this.newComment, which is the array. It's going to be .push, and then I'll pass in that ID. Now what I want to do is every time the users press the post comment button, I want to clear this this array, because what happens is if they click post comment, it's going to insert the ID into the array. Then if they go to another comment and hit post comment, it's going to insert another one. So it's just going to mess things up for me. So what I'm going to do is clear it out right here. So just like that. And that'll just make sure that it's empty, and then we're starting off with a new one. All right. So then in this draft comment function here, I have to pass in that ID, so blog underscore ID. And now I actually have to create this form in the component.ts file. So we have a text area, and then so that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and create that really quick. Should be pretty simple. And I like to do form declarations at the top, so I'll do it underneath this one. And I'll name this one create comment form. So let me go ahead and declare that up here, and I'll just do it underneath this one. Say comment form. All right, and so I'll do this dot comment form dot and not dot equals this dot form builder. So we use that to start building out the form. It's going to have the one text area field, which is comment, and then I'll pass in an empty value along with some validators. So the first one is going to be validators.required, validators.maximum length and min length. So for minimum, I'll say 1 And then for max, I'll say 200 for a comment. And then when this page loads, I'll create that form. So I'll just put it underneath this one, create comment form. So then back in the HTML, I can go ahead and implement validation for these. So first I want to make sure I pass in the form group for this. So it'd be form group equals, then the name of the form, which was comment form. And then underneath this text area, I'll create a div. And before I forget, let me add form control to this. So it's going to be form control name, which is comment. So this class is actually going to be ng class. And I'll configure that in a second. So I'll go ahead and create an unordered list with class help block. And then a list item. This is going to be this field is required. And then I'll add ngIf, and it'll say comment form dot controls dot comment errors dot required and comment form dot controls dot comment dot dirty. So I'll just copy this because this one's going to be a little bit similar. I'll say comment must be at least 1 character, but no more than 200. So I'll change this to errors.maxLength, and then I'll just copy this and do an OR, and oops, put it in parentheses, and then I'll change this one to minimum length. Okay, let me fix this up here. All right, and then so for these two buttons down here, I'm going to disable the submit option if the form is not valid. I'll say disabled if comment form is not valid. And then once users click this, so I add my click event here, I'll go do that new function that we created, which was post comment. And if you remember, it's expecting the ID, so blog._ID. And I'm going to change this type to submit. And then for the disabled, I'm also going to disable it if processing is true. And then for the cancel one, I'll do the same thing. I'll say disabled if processing, but it doesn't matter if the form is valid or not. And then I'll add a click event to that one as well. And I'll create a new function called cancel. Cancel submission should be fine. And I'll pass in the blog ID to it. So let me just copy this, and then I'll create that over here. And so this is going to be to remove that ID from the array like we did before. So actually, let me find the previous one, the draft comment, and just put it near that one since it's related. Okay. So in order to remove it from the array, I got to find out which index it is. So I'll just go ahead and I'll create a const and name it index. And so I'll say this new comment, index of, and get the ID. So it's going to return a number based on what element of this array it is, right? So say if it's the first element, we'll get back a 0, and so index will equal 0. And then what I can do with that is remove it. So I'll say this dot new comment, which is the array, dot splice, and then pass in that const of index and how many I want to remove. So just 1. Afterwards, I'll reset the form, which is comment form, and I'll do reset. And then I also want to enable the form at this point. I haven't disabled it, but I will be. So I'm just going to insert that here. So I'll say enable comment form, but I actually have to go in and create that. And then I'll set processing to false. So I'm gonna go ahead and create the disable and the disable for this. So I'll just copy this and I'll do it right below the forum creation. So right here. So yeah, I'll do this here. We only have one field, so it'll be dis.comment.forum.get, and it's a comment field. So we'll do enable. Then I'll copy it and do the disable. Right, then I want to go back over to the HTML and then finish configuring this. So right outside this div, I want to go ahead and create a list item. And so this list item is going to contain, we'll say a span. So let me go ahead and add a span here. And this span will say show comments. And we'll do another one for hiding the comments, right? And then I'll pass in 2 spaces after this. Oops. All right. So then I'll add an ngIf right here for this show comments button. So we'll say enabled comments index of blog underscore ID is equal to -1, and blog.comments.length is greater than 0. And actually I'm gonna make this enabled comments. And so this is basically what I'm going to be doing, right? When users click this show comments button or span, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to activate a function called enabled comments. Well, that's not the name of the function. That's going to be the array. And so what I'm going to do with that array is I'm going to take the ID and insert it into it. That way, kind of like the same thing with the comments, I'll know which comments the user wants to display. So let me just finish this up. So I'll make this list group item. And then when the users click on this on the span, I'll do the click event and I'll name it expand. And then I'll pass in the blog ID. Right. So when users click expand to expand the comments, this is going to allow me to do that. And basically what I'm going to do is check if the ID is already in the array or not. Okay. So remember, it's enabled comments is the array, and then expand is the function. So let me go ahead and create that up here. All right, and then I'll do that at the bottom here. Yeah, right here. So expand, and it's expecting the ID. Then I have another function for collapse, which also takes in the ID. So I'll be able to click expand to expand the comments, or collapse to hide the comments. So then here I'll grab that array, which was enabled comments, and I'll push in the ID into it. And then for collapse, I'll basically do the exact opposite. I'll say index, and I'll do the same like I did before. Grab that comments and find out which index the ID is, and then I'll remove it. So this dot enabled comments dot splice index and one element. All right, and then below this, still inside of the span, what I'll do, and you can bring this down if you want. I'm going to pass in a div. Bring this up. I'll just add a Bootstrap glyph icon to it. So and I'll add the comment icon. All right, and then outside of this list element, I'm basically going to do the same thing, but the opposite, and it's going to be for hiding comments. All right, so I'll say ngIf, and this one will be enabled comments dot index of blog underscore ID. And for this one, instead of equal to 1, I'll say greater than -1. Right, so it's already in that array. add the class of list group item, and then I'll basically do the same thing. Pass in that span, hide comments, couple spaces here. And then when they click on this, I'll do that other function I created, which was collapse, and then pass in the blog ID. And then here I'll create my div with the class of comment. Right, and let me bring this up. And so lastly, what I want to do is actually display the comments. So I'll do that right outside of this first list element here. And I'll create a div. Inside there, I'll put a list element. So for this div, I add an ng if statement. And I'll say enabled comments dot index of, and then pass in the ID. So if it's greater than 1. And we're doing that up here with the show comments button. And then in this list element, I'm going to repeat it for every comment that exists. So it'll be ng for, and I'll name it comment of blog.comments. Pass in the class of list group item. And then inside of this list item, I'll create another, I'm going to add strong, and I'll say comment.commentator, followed by comment.comment. All right, and now I'm just, since I kind of did this all in one go, I'm going to go ahead and inspect for errors really quick. I'm sure I made a few typos somewhere in here. So just bear with me for a sec while I scroll through and just look for errors. And then I did find one error, and up here for the post comment button, this shouldn't be ng if, it should be a disabled, because we don't want to hide that button. We just want to disable it if the users are currently posting a new comment. All right, and that was the purpose of why I did this. So this new comment array just lets us know, hey, someone's working on a new comment. So now we're ready to test this, and going back, you'll see here's our button. So once you click it, you'll see that the window pops down. Now you want to make sure that the windows on, say, this post on here doesn't also pop down. And when you do click it, it should disappear the other one, right? And that's why I was using so many arrays, is so that only one comment window can be open at a time. So I'm going to try to post my first comment. Oh, actually, I just remembered I never actually built the post comment function, so that would be the last thing that we'll need to do here. So right here. So first, I'll disable the form. So disable contact form, and then set processing to true, so the submission will be frozen. Afterwards, I'll take the comment and save it into a value. So I'll say comment equals this.commentForm.get.value. All right, and then I'll invoke the service there, which was post comment, and it's expecting the ID along with the comment, which I have both of those now. And then I'll subscribe, and I'll say, so the first thing I'll do is reload all the blogs. So I'll say this.getAllBlogs. That'll reload all the blogs and it'll inject the new comments. Afterwards, let me go ahead and get the index so that I can remove that from the array. So I'll say index equals this.newComment, index of, and I'll pass in the ID. Afterwards, I can go ahead and remove it from the array with splice index 1. Then I'll enable the form, and I'll also reset all the fields. So I'll do reset, set processing to false, And then what I'll do here is, and this part's kind of optional, but if the user hasn't hit expand on the comments, what I'll do is I'll display, I'll expand it for them. So I'll say this dot enabled comments dot index of ID, and I'll say less than 0. Then I'll do this, expand, and then pass in the ID. And actually, you want, this is actually not with the parentheses, so it's just dot value. All right, so we're ready to go ahead and test this. Hit save on that, and then go back over to the browser. And so what I'll do is right now, I have the option available to post comments on your own post. You can get rid of that if you want, but so you hit post comment, and this should pop up. And actually, I'm going to insert a space underneath that post comment button. It just bugs me when things are that close. So let me just fix that really quick. So I'll add that here. All right, much better. And so I'll say this is a test comment. And you'll see here is our test comment. And actually, it looks like I messed up a little bit because I can see the colon there. So I'm gonna go back and let's see, where am I? Yep, so this should be commentator with 2 M's, and then this, well, that colon can stay there. But I'm just gonna hit refresh to see. And then you also want to make sure that this function works when you hit show comments. It should expand like that. And then you can hide it and whatever you want. So I'm going to go on another user account that I have logged in. Actually, I don't have it logged in. I'll go ahead and log in really quick though. And then I'm going to go leave a comment on that same post. So here's the first one. Go ahead and add another post to this, and I'll say this is a second comment. All right, and then you'll see the other comment here. You also want to test that when you hit post comment, it should be disabled, and submit post should be disabled until you enter at least a letter. And then here we have the validation as well. So let's say I enter the over the max. You should also get that error that said comment must be at least 1 character, but in more than 200. And so the last thing I need to do is just modify this class so we get in red text. And then also you want to make sure this cancel button works, and if you do that, it should reset you. You also want to test this like, so hit comment on one of them, enter text, hit cancel, and then hit post comment on another one. And it should be empty. You should not have that same comment in there. Sometimes that can happen. Or if I enter text here and then hit post comment here, you'll see that it's still in there. And that's because we haven't reset the form. So we can do that. So inside the blog component, and remember the function that's getting passed in when people press post new comment is post comment. So it would make sense for us to clear out the field when users initially press that button, right? And actually it's not post comment, it's or actually no, it's draft comment, right? So it makes sense for us to, in the draft comment, to clear that out, right? So over here, draft comment, we can do that here. We can take the form, we'll say, what did I name it? Comment form. Then do a reset. So let me see if that fixed it. So I'm going to go down to the bottom here and enter text and then hit post comment up here, and you'll see it does reset. Okay, so those are just little minor things that you always want to be checking. So like I was saying before, now I want to add this error class. So if I delete this, I get this message, but I don't get the red text. So go down, and if you remember, I actually did create the ng class. I just never added anything to it. So it's going to be pretty simple. I'll do I'll say has success is going to be if the comment form is doesn't have any errors. So I'll say controls.comment.error. So if it didn't have any, and then success is going to be if comment form.controls.comment is dirty and comment form.controls.comment.errors. So if it has errors and it's been touched, and then actually I'll do the same thing up here. I should have done that same thing. So it should at least be dirty before we give them that error message or success message. And actually this success message is never going to show, so you can get rid of it if you want, but I'm just going to keep that in there. But then I'm going to go ahead and test this and make sure it works. So I'll hit post comment, and you should get that red error message there. And then I just want to make sure, I'm going to hit post comment on this one and make sure I don't get that error message there. So you just kind of want to test everything out. And then, so you'll see right here, I only have the 2 comments. So I'm going to go back over to a third user. And I'll go leave a comment on that one as well. So right now we got the 2 comments. So I'm going to leave another one. This is a third comment test. Hit submit post. And actually I'm going to change that to say submit comment. But before I do that, I want to show you, you want to make sure that when you hit reload, it displays that third comment. So I'm going to hit reload, and then you'll see that third comment there. And you'll see it doesn't even reload the page, so it just immediately injects that new comment, which is pretty cool. But like I said, I want to change this. Instead of submit post, I'll say comment. Just a preference, not really a big deal. Right, then I'll test that. All right, just a little better. Or you can just say submit or something if that text is too big. So that's it for this video, and that's pretty much the gist of the application. In the next video, I'm going to be addressing any bugs that may have come up during this process, during development, and then also showing you how to deploy your website online and get it running